Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. I'm sharing some cards I made using Queen & Company's brand new hearts-shaped shaker kit. This is one of their mini kits since it doesn't include a paper pad. But let me show you real quick everything that is included. So there's a stamp set that has a lot of fun, love, and even thank you sentiments in it. And then since this is a shaker kit, there are 12 of the self-adhesive foam shaker shapes. So it comes in 4 different styles, so you'll get 3 of each one. And then of course 4 dies. So these match perfectly with all of those foam pieces. And I love the stitch detail on all of the heart dies. And then last there are all of the little acetate covers. So these again are all pre-cut and they match up perfectly with all of the dies and the foam pieces. For my cards, I used a variety of Queen & Company paper collections as well as different toppings to fill all of my shakers. So for card number 1, I'm using Mojo Monday sketch number 507. And this paper collection is the Flirty Florals. I know it's still winter, but I really felt like making a pretty floral spring card, and this paper collection is just perfect for that. It has very soft, lovely colors in it. So I did use some cardstock just from my stash to mat all of my layers since I love to use lots of layers. This sketch from Mojo Monday has a lot of different elements, so it's perfect to combine several different pattern papers. And since a lot of the patterns are very muted, a tone-on-tone design, it's easy to combine several of them without making the card look too busy. So for this circle, I decided to use some of this glitter paper. So this is a pack that is sold through Queen & Company, and it's a real thin glitter paper, but it's self-adhesive. So I did get a little ripple in there, and so I'm just trying to straighten that out. And so the little part that shows, I'll actually cover that up later. So I've gone ahead and cut out just the single heart. And because I want the toppings to really show, I'm going to use some of the green cardstock for the background of the shaker. So I did cut this one out twice. And I like to cut out even just that frame. That way I have the spot to lay this foam frame on top. So you just peel off the one backer, stick that on top, and then I'll start to fill it with a variety of different toppings. I made sure to stick within the same colors of the card, so kept it very spring with just the white, yellow, and green toppings. So now I'll just go ahead and lay the acetate piece over, seal it in nice, just give a good firm press. And then I'll just put some liquid adhesive all around the edge of that heart and then put my frame on top. And then I just like to use my acrylic block to really hold it in place while that glue dries. And I've already gone and stamped out a sentiment and just cut it out with a circle die and then a little scallop die. I'm just going to pop that up with a piece of foam dimensional tape. And then just a final little finishing touch, I'm going to use some of the iridescent bubbles and just kind of sprinkle them around on the card. And I also like to put just that thin strip of pattern paper on the inside of the card. I think it just adds a nice detail. So that is card number 1. Now on to card number 2. I'm using sketch number 416 from MFT. This is a sketch that is one of my favorites lately. I keep reaching for it again and again. This paper collection is the Happy Hearts, and all of the papers I'm using are from Queen & Company, and they sell all of their paper pads individually. So you can always grab some extra ones. They make really fun paper collections. So I've gone ahead and stamped the sentiment on this white rectangular piece on the sketch. And one of the reasons I love this sketch, it's just easy to combine 2 different pattern papers and then add an embellishment or an image on that right hand side. So for this card, I'm using the double heart. So I'm going to have it white in the background. So this is a piece of pearlescent white cardstock. And I kept the two pieces together, and I'm just going to adhere that down with some liquid adhesive. And then for the shaker, you always want to go ahead and pop out that inside piece of all of the shapes. And you can always hang on to those because they work great for some dimensional adhesive later. And I love pink, so I'm using a variety of different pink toppings along with a few of the clear diamonds, because those always add a really lovely sparkle. So I have a little bit of the rubble in there and some of the tiny hearts, some of the pops. So this one's a little harder, at least the one time I used it, to put this acetate cover down. You have to make sure you really have it lined up nicely, and you want to start on one edge and lay it down to the other edge. And so sometimes you get a little bit of static in there, and a few of the pieces kind of jumped out on me. But I got it all straightened out. And so now I'm just going to put the liquid adhesive and adhere that little frame on top. And again, I'll use one of my acrylic blocks to hold it in place. And that did sit longer than that quick half a second that you saw. So now I'll just add some embellishments. I love to use little tiny banners up in the top corner, so I did put just a solid cardstock with some pink with the banner. And then I'm just using a variety of different bling. And these all come in the Monster Love Kit bling add-on that's available. So that is card number 2. So moving on to card number 3. I'm using Reverse Confetti Sketch number 5. And I ran out of tape right away, so I had to go ahead and change that one. So the paper collection is again the Happy Hearts. I love the variety of colors. It has a bunch of pinks and reds, but then it has some blues and reds in there as well. And this one feels very patriotic to me, so I always love using red, white, and blue papers. And if you are interested, all of the sketches I share, I do have measurements written on there. They're all included on my coordinating blog post. So you can always head over there and check out the sketch and print it if you want. So for the little circle elements on this sketch, I'm using the smallest of the hearts that's included in the kit. And I'm using some Satin mirror cardstock. So this is really pretty. And I love how bold it is on this card, and it matches with the red in the pattern paper really nicely. So I'm going to have the background solid with this red. So I went ahead and cut all of these out twice. I'm just going to adhere all 3 of those in place before I start building up my shakers. So this is going to be a triple shaker card. So that's kind of fun. So with this heart, it kind of looks like it's like symmetrical, but it's not. One of the sides is a little bigger. So you do want to make sure you have everything the correct direction, like the acetate needs to be the right direction. Otherwise, it's not going to work out when you try to seal it. So for the toppings, I'm just using some of the tiny hearts and then some of the clear diamonds. I'll just go ahead and put all of those acetate pieces on top. And I am sorry about the reflection. My lights overhead just do not work well with anything like this clear acetate. So I'm just gluing those all in place and pulling out that acrylic block again. It just works perfectly for holding it all down until the glue dries enough. And then again, I'll add my little banner in that upper left-hand corner. And then just one little finishing touch. I used one of the tiny little heart toppings, and I'm just going to glue that right by my sentiment. So that is card number 3. So now I'm on to card number 4. The sketch is Sweet Sunday sketch number 236. And the paper collection is actually one of the Christmas collections. This is the Merry and Bright. So one thing I love about the Queen & Company paper collections is even when they're seasonal or holiday specific, there's always papers in there that will work for any time of year. So this has this lovely teal and pink paper. So these are actually the same piece of paper. So I only had to use one sheet of paper for this card, which was nice, other than the cardstock, of course. So I just used that muted pattern paper for the background and then added that bright color with the strip of the stripes there. And then I used a stitch scallop border die to just go across the card. And now I'm going to add my image box. And so I'm just using some white cardstock, and since it's going to be going right over that striped paper, I wanted to make sure that it laid nice and flat or even on the card. So I'm just using some thin adhesive just where it doesn't touch any of that striped part. I hope that made sense. So for the shaker, this time I'm going to use some of the specialty cardstock from Queen & Company, and this was part of the all bundled up glitter paper add-on bundle. So there's 3 different sheets of glitter paper, and this is this really pretty turquoise teal color, and it matched really perfectly with this paper collection. So I'm filling it with a variety of toppings, kind of some teal color, a little bit of clear in there, and then some of the tiny white hearts. And then I'll just go ahead and put my adhesive over top. And I love this glitter paper. And the one that comes as the add-on is actually a little bit thicker than the sticker paper. So now I'm just trying to decide where I want to add a sentiment on the card. So I went ahead and stamped out the Sending Hugs sentiment. I'm going to just use some white cardstock and I'm going to cut it into a little banner. I'm going to put it right next to the heart. So I do want to cut the one end so it matches nicely up with the shaker heart. And I decided not to add any of the cardstock layer to this little banner. And then because I do want to keep that sentiment even on the card, I just put some of the foam dimensional squares on just that left side of it. And then of course I have to add just a little bit of bling, so I'm using some of the Pretty in Pink rhinestones. So that is card number 4. So now I'm on to card number 5. So the paper collection is the Happy Hearts again. And see how there's a nice variety of different colors? This one's definitely more on the red with just a little bit of pink. So I just cut out some scalloped rectangular frames. So again, for the cardstock, I just used some red that I already had in my craft room. And I want to get all of it in place onto my card base before I start building up my little shaker card. So again, I'm using this little double heart shaker, and then I decided to pull in the little monsters from the new release. This is their Monster Love Kit, and I actually already did a video using that full kit, but this is a really fun kit. So it has all of these little dies that you can create a variety of adorable little monsters. So I had this image of 2 little monsters holding these double hearts together. So I'm just going to build up my little monster. So I'm just cutting parts of it, like the little arm is going to be tucked under there and part of their head are just like poking up behind. And so you're not going to see anything in that opening there with the hearts because I'm going to put the red in the background. So I just used some of the different pattern paper to cut out their arms and just some solid cardstock for their little pink bodies. And the kit is actually designed to be little pom-pom critters or monsters, but it works perfectly even without the pom-poms. So now that I have the little monster bodies all glued in place, I can go ahead and adhere the background of this shaker. So now I'll add the adhesive just to that little frame. So you can already see those little monsters behind there, even without their faces so far. So next I'll start building the shaker part. So I'm just going to put down the foam piece, and then I'll use an assortment of different toppings. This time I use some of the white hearts. I think I have some of the pops in there, and then some of the little gems just for a little extra sparkle. And so I was a little more careful this time putting down that acetate cover, and I didn't have any problems at all. So you just want to make sure you start at one end and get it nice and smooth, and it goes together really well. Queen & Company really makes very easy shaker cards. So again, I'll put my acrylic block on top, and then I'll put together some of the little monster mouths. So they have a variety of different mouths. So you can have the teeth like on the top, on the bottom. They even sell a different kit. It was back in, I believe in October. It was their Monster Mash kit. So that kit has a bunch of different little monster pieces as well. So if you really want a nice variety, you could pick up that one too. So I went ahead and added some glue to the little arms so they're holding onto those hearts. And now I'll put their little faces together. When I was making this, I was picturing it being like two sisters giving this card to their mom, because I wanted to keep them pink. I didn't want to add a blue monster in, and I love these little bows. So I liked the idea of the bows kind of mirroring each other, you know, one wearing it on the right and one wearing it on the left. They're just really cute. So now my little monsters are all created. I need to add just a sentiment. So I went ahead and already stamped that out and created a little banner for it. And I want to make sure it stays put because I'm going to be putting it right on top of the shaker. So I just use a piece of score tape. And then just one last finishing touch, I'm just going to use some of these berry red pearls. They match with this red paper really nicely. So this card was a little bit more work, but it was so much fun to make. So that is card number 5. So here's just a quick recap of the 5 cards I made using Queen & Company's heart-shaped shaker kit. So this kit was a lot of fun, and I will have links in the description box for all of the products that I used. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.